Hello everybody, welcome back to a new episode of Railway Empire 2. I am facing Bilbao here and that's the reason. Well, actually there's more reasons, but one of the reasons is I've been redoing some of the transportation routes in Spain. And Bilbao already showed it briefly. We are crafting tools there. So what I did, I also added the cement, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, at the end of the previous episode. So what I've done is setting up a new route from Fresque station and Marcos terminal. So that one is added, heading to. Um, Now I thought it was Salamanca. No, it wasn't Salamanca. Where did it? Ah, yeah, heading to Porto. And in Porto, I'm producing steel. That steel is transported to Jimenez Stop, where it then will be picked up by a train heading to Bilbao. And in Bilbao, I will turn it into tools, which are then transferred back to Jimenez Stop. That's one thing. Another thing I did is, like I said, adding cement. Cement is transported to Jimenez Stop, where it's going to be picked up, and actually the idea was to have it transported to Porto, but for some weird reason, everything ending up in the warehouse here is being sent to Coruña or Bilbao or Oviedo, which makes me wonder if I actually have to set up another warehouse for the same thing. I'm not 100% sure about that yet. I also set up canned foods, but for some reason, where did I do that? Burgos? No. No, I set up toys in Leon, and I thought I was doing canned goods somewhere, but apparently not. So maybe I will have to adjust something because the vegetables comes from Vega Farm near Castillo train station, and anything else should be made elsewhere. Last thing I did was setting up a route to Salamanca, bringing the coal from Fresque station to Salamanca, turn it into chemicals, which are then meant to be sent to Jimenez Stop, where they, as we already showed, are being sent to several cities. So I was watching Bilbao probably because of one of the routes. I've been working on the routing a lot because I had to edit a lot of. No, it's not this one. It's this one I need to follow. A lot of trains, as at some point I had a big deadlock in Oviedo. And when I mean big, I really mean big because the trains were stopped from Jimenez station to Oviedo and from Castillo station to Oviedo. So both sides had about 10, 15 trains waiting. So eventually, what I did for most of the lines traveling here is setting up simply two waypoints ordering the trains to move over platform 1 and 2 because the other trains were all moving over 3 and 4. And that was causing the deadlock because the trains were waiting right before the switch, and the trains here were waiting for the trains there to move, but they couldn't move because there were trains on those, and those two platforms were still off use. So everything passing through Oviedo is currently using the first two tracks. Once that was done, I had to remove one or two trains before they actually were moving on. So remove a train from a route, put it back in, wait for everything to see how things are going, move it back in, remove, move back. So at some point, most of my routes were actually picking up again, and some of the trains were restarting. The routes were restarting, but it worked. I got everything going again. So all was well, and then my technology moved on, and I apparently remained a little bit too active for a while with either mouse or whatever, and the game crashed, which was a very big shame because I actually was having lots of technology points unlocked already, and because of some auctions I also had another train free, so I was actually able to replace both my transport and my express trains if I wanted to. So let's move into that screen for a bit, because yeah, things have changed. Currently 1875. What I got in that playthrough when I changed things in auctions were in-house production, reducing the price of a new locomotive by 5%. So I'm currently paying 30% less. I got the Brooks Mogul. Oh wait, in that case, it crashed after I got that technology. I got the Brooks Mogul, which is a very good mixed train currently because the tractive power simply can't do that. I have to do it in the other screen, but the tractive power is similar to the train we got right now. And I got the fire back. So I got 5% more, currently 20% of the old value of the locomotive is coming back. Now we have 1270 points, which means 4 times 300. 1, 2, 3. That means I could get Lucian G5, 133 tractive power compared to the 86 we have on the Mogul and 86 we have on the 0330 C West. That's why it's similar. So I got better tractive power. The disadvantage compared to the Mogul, Lucian G5 is 12 kilometers an hour slow. Maintenance requirements are a little bit different. Reliability is actually, I think it's actually worse. So this one is able to accelerate faster, but general speed is below that. That's one path I choose. The other path, the Glane, sure, absolutely. New express train. I can get the brakes. That's 400. I get the jackhammer. I have to get the jackhammer. 700. Logistics. 900. And eventually public image, giving me reducing cost of personnel by another 5%, so bringing it to 30. 3, 6, 7, 9, 1000. That means I'm lacking 200 to unlock push, and I think I'm going that route. The reason that gives me the opportunity to use the mogul for a bit, and at least that will give me the pleasure to use that train for a bit and pleasure us to watch it for a while. Plus, it's actually somewhat more natural. I mean, I can rush 1200 and actually get to guidelines one go. That means I need to skip that locomotive, switch to him, because 74 is still an improvement over 65. Don't get that wrong. It's still an improvement. But I think, yeah, 3, 6, 9, 12, but that leaves out everything else, and there are some benefits in the rest. So the Glade is number 1, and now it says we have 2 engines available. The jackhammer, brakes, the logistics, and that's an important one actually. All buildings, including factories and railroad buildings, are 5% extra, so I got 20% cost cut on that one. So basically, the further we get, we have to build more, but I'm still earning more money because everything becomes cheaper. And 270. Basically, that means in February I'm able to unlock the boost between 5 and 9. So let's move to the engine shed. Mogul, I will use that as a transport train. I mean, yeah, it looks nice. It's, when I compare the US locomotives to the European ones, then one of the things I noticed, there are two major things, well, or three major things when you compare them. But the first of all is the US locomotives in general have the same diameter of the driving wheels at all times. The second thing is the cabin is larger and is having a bigger overlap. I mean, these are the driving wheels, that's the cabin, and it's a very small overlap. The Brooks Mogul would end something over here, actually covering a part of the coal tender. And the third thing is the cow catcher here, which European trains don't have. But those are basically the biggest difference. But to me, like I said, it looks nice. And I think it's actually looking more beautiful than the Glade, although that train, which is considered as a trend-setting one because it was one of the first combination of two external high-pressure cylinder and two internal low-pressure. So the power was done on 4 cylinders, meaning the high-pressure cylinder was doing the first part of the driving, then steam moved on and got into the low pressure, which is basically giving an extra boost before it actually returned into the boiler as condensed water, something like that. I'm not into steam engineering, so if I'm wrong, sorry for that. People can always correct me in the comments. But yeah, that's so this is technological more advanced. And as you can see, it's actually smaller, but they are ideal for high-speed freight transport. So that's why I want to use it. So what I'm going to do, replace suitability freight 700. That will cost me 41 million. At the time, 41 million. Well, if we put two, maybe three or six zeros behind this, you get close to what it's now. So we are going to replace all transport locomotives for this one. And as long as nothing happens, the game is actually processing with that. So we'll see. Done. I'm also going to replace my express trains. That's going to cost me 10 million. Yeah, but it's only a third, more or less a third of my freight trains. So hence why it's done faster. Whoa, 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 whoa. And look at that. Basically, oh, it was, so basically it wasn't a four-wheel, sort of four-wheel drive, I think. Front and rear axles of the locomotive with different pressures depending on the situation. So he could actually put more pressure on either one of them for pushing or pulling. Yeah, that's about to happen now. So we're going to watch this one for a bit, see how fast it's actually going. On our right we will see the express trains at some point. And when we do, I will see if I can pause the game in time. But this looks nice. There we go, 88. And the maximum speed we had listed was 97. The only disadvantage of the plane, it will, there's one. Zoof. So let's see, loading up cement and steel. Hang on. I thought it had a lot of... Ah no, everything else is for Coruña and Oviedo. It's a shame this one is actually not going through a tunnel. think I'm going to do this simply because of the looks. I want to see what it looks like when we're traveling with this train. Not because of the speed, but more to get a nice impression of what the train looks like the moment we approach it. Or if one of the express trains is approaching us or passing us. See one? That's the one that passed through the station when this one was being loaded. So these are the images I'm actually wanted to show you and I like to see. The train, the tracks, the environment, and in the distance another one. Just hope this one won't bounce back and forth like it did previously. No, it didn't. Okay. And there's another cargo train. Now, let's see. Yeah, this looks so nice. Yep, I was a little bit speechless. I think. Why do I have to wait for an incoming train if I'm going to move those tracks? It does give us a nice view of the locomotive. And here we got the express. One, two, three, stop. So that's what it looks like. That's the easiest way to get. Oh, and no name here because the first thing it has to go to is a waypoint. So the question is actually, could it get to that high speed it was listed at? I don't think so. Simply because I got too many curves in the line. Okay, you're coming up and we're going this way. Yep. I said we're going to avoid track 3 and 4 and instead pick this one, and between the two grids irons you can actually switch, so there's always a free track here. It would be better if it had taken track number 1, track number 4 because of this, no, track number 1 because everything else had to stop because of me. Build a farm near Plymouth? No thank you. No need to. So in general, all this train does is moving from Bilbao to Jimenez Station, dropping off tools, picking up iron, moving to Reyes Point where it will pick up logs, back to Bilbao, drop off and off to Jimenez again to drop off the tools. So Jimenez, whoa, floating people. Jimenez, steel, Bilbao, drop off Reyes, logs, Bilbao, drop off tools, from Bilbao to Jimenez, and that's the whole cycle. It's a nice one. It's quite profitable actually, although it doesn't look like it. The one that's doing the transportation from the coal and the iron mines to Porto is actually having more problems because everything that's sent to a warehouse isn't paid for. So I have to make money on the transportation of the coal and iron, not the steel. Now let's see how well this one is able to climb this hill. Not that bad actually. Isn't accelerating fast, but it is still accelerating. And when I started this route, I think that was way back in 1840s, something like that. And I think I was using the G&M American. That one was having minor problems, but my express train really had a big problem here. Got a news message. We've got a hold up in front of us. Ah no, it's not as bad as I thought it was. That one's waiting, but we still have 3 tracks here. This one is waiting for an increasing distance. And this is exactly the thing, yeah, that's causing those holding ups. It's waiting to increase distance. That one is actually waiting for another one. So eventually, only because of a train increasing distance, this is supply 2, that's supply 2, but train number 4. So they're waiting for each other, which is not really logical and occasionally very annoying because it can eventually stop everything. And the worst part, the trains are waiting on each other, and then you'll see there are 2 or 3 tracks actually free. And now everything does freeze. So I hope this is not going to be a 30-minute episode, because that would be a pain, as it most likely also means that I have, yep, there we are, stuck. Okay, so it's a 30-minute episode and everything froze up again, and I still have no idea what it is, because sometimes I think it's the autosave feature, sometimes I think it's not being active with the mouse for long enough, but there is a reason the game freezes up over and over again. And currently it can't be the whole map, because I actually played a game where I had the whole British and Irish area connected as well. Everything was fine with that game. But that game was done before Chinese DLC, China DLC was added. So my guess is that DLC added some sort of bug. I really hope it isn't. Anyway, we're going to stick to half an hour, unfortunately, because there's nothing I can do anyway now. The game is stopping and I will see what's going to happen next. But I will continue this one. It's 1875. There is a lot to do still. So with that in mind, I can do multiple episodes, even if it's half an hour. I can do multiple episodes, and we are going to make it to the end of the game time, because I want that technology achievement. That's the ultimate goal. That's what I'm aiming for. And that's what I'm going to get. So for now, sorry for a half an hour episode instead of the usual longer ones. I do hope you've been enjoying this. I do hope everything still saved at this point. Otherwise, I have to redo a few things up to up to the January 29th. I hope everybody's having a good week, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.